over anchor point and how it affects some of your animations. So we're going to start by creating a new layer. Go make sure it goes to the top by selecting the top layer. So I'm going to go layer, new. Let's do a solid just for the fun of it. Nope, we're not going to do a solid because I'm going to show you about anchor points. So we'll go layer, new, shape layer. Not a solid, shape layer. Now, as I mentioned before in class, shape layers are kind of like an empty salad bowl. You go up to the salad bar and you add into them what you want to add. You can do it by clicking the add button up at the top, right there above your composition window panel, or use your twirl down arrow, and then you'll start seeing the contents. There's nothing in it, but you see the add right across from the contents. So you can click on either add button you want. I'm going to use this one down here. Let's do a rectangle because that has corners and it will make this demonstration easier. So we have a rectangle, but it's the thought of a rectangle. There's no shape or, stroke or fill to it. So we're going to we'll do a solid. So add a fill. So I click the add button right here, or that one up there. I'm going to add fill, and I'm going to make the color, what haven't we used yet? We'll do yellow. So we've got a fill of yellow. This is a little bit smaller than I want it to be. Since I'm on the shape layer tool is selected up here in your toolbar. As I mentioned in class, the black arrow is your selection tool. It moves things around. The hand tool scrubs you around inside your composition window without moving anything. You're just changing what you're looking at. Magnifying glass zooms in. There's our anchor point. If you hold down Option, you get the minus, so you can zoom out. You could also change your magnification down here. I'm going to fit to view. This is the rotation tool for obviously rotating things. Camera tool, we'll get into that with 3D. Pan behind tool. This is the one we use for changing your anchor point. It even says pan behind anchor point. And then, of course, like I said, your shape tool, your path tool, your type tool, brush tool, rubber stamp tool, eraser tool, roto tool, and puppet pin tool. We'll be getting to all of these throughout the class. But for now, I'm just going to put on my black arrow. I want to change the size of this rectangle. It's a little small. So I'm going to click the arrow next to rectangle path. And these options appear. Size. This chain link next to the size means it's a universal transformation. So if I make it 200% bigger, it's 200% bigger in every direction. It's still a square. If I turn that off and make just the width 200% bigger, it then becomes a rectangle. For this demonstration, I'm going to keep it on, so you can click it on or off, so that everyone can see this more easily. There we go. Now, our anchor point here is in the center. I'm going to use scale for this. So I'm going to select my layer. I'm going to hit, remember the shortcuts for animation. P for position, S for scale, R for rotation, T for transparency, and to hide all your keyframes, the letter U. So we're doing scale, so I hit the letter S. I'm going to start this, well first, I'm going to duplicate it, actually. So I'm going to press Command D. Now I've got two of them. I'm going to hide the top one. No, I'm not. I lied. I'm going to put one over here and one over there, so they're right next to each other. I'm going to hit S on that layer as well. I'm going to give this one a keyframe. We're going to watch this one. Not this one. Okay. I'm going to scale it. So I set my first keyframe, moved it through time, and then set another keyframe. So this keyframe says it's 300%. I go to my previous keyframe with this, and it's telling me it's 100%. You can find out what each keyframe is and does this way by going from keyframe to keyframe and then seeing how it's changing. So this one is going to scale up from the center because that's where the anchor point is. It goes diagonally out to every corner. Now this one over here, we're going to change the anchor point. So wherever I click and drag this to, that's where the animation is going to start, and it'll go in the opposite direction. If you hold down, oops, not the control, it would be the, yeah, I guess it's the, oh, I don't want that either. It's the command key. If you hold down the command key, it'll snap to one of the corners. I clicked and dragged the anchor point. You have to select it with your pan behind tool and drag it to the corner. So now, go change back to my selection arrow. So now I'm going to start here, go 1 second, and I'm going to, so it's in this corner, it's going to scale up towards that way. So I'm going to change the scale, like that. And you'll see two different types of animation. This one will go out from the center to all the corners. And this one's going to go from this corner up that way. We're animating the scale property, but it changes based on where you have your anchor point. That's one of the useful ways of getting some interest to your animation, just by changing the anchor point. And as I mentioned before, the U key hides your keyframes. Now we got a little bit of space. I'm going to hide these. For my next demonstration of anchor point will be great for scale and rotation. That's where it helps a lot. So we're going to make a new shape layer. And again, we've got our empty salad bowl. There's nothing there. But for this demonstration, like I said, you could go contents, the add button down here, or up here. I'm going to make a star for this demonstration. So I'm going to go polystar. And as we saw in class, I'm going to do the twirl down. You can change the number of points on your star right here from 5. If you do 3, you'll get a triangle. For this, I'm going to keep it 5 so that you can see what's going on. This is blank because there's no fill or stroke. So I'm going to add a stroke this time. And the stroke color and width, you can change either down here by twirling down to stroke, or you can do it up here. I'm going to make the stroke, let's say 10. 10's alright. I'm going to make the size a little bit bigger. Position, rotation, transform, scale. Alright, now you can see it much better. So I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to hide that just by twirling them down. So we can look at rotation. The anchor point is in the center. So that means when I rotate this, it's going to rotate from the center in a circle, sort of like a propeller, like I showed you in class. So I'm going to click my stopwatch next to rotation, and I'll go forward 1 second. With rotation, as I mentioned in class, it's 0x. That's the number of times for a full rotation. So if you want to do 2 full circles, you type a 2 here. Or if you want to go a certain number of degrees, you type it over here. Like if you just want to turn it 15 degrees, I would do it there. It's going to change 15 degrees. But that's not what I want. So I'm going to undo that. Instead, I'm just going to do 2 full circles. So I'm going to do the 2x. So that means 2 times full circle. So now it's going to spin from the middle like a propeller blade. The animation's choppy because I'm recording. So that's showing what happens when you leave the anchor point in the center. It spins from the center. I'm going to hide this star. And I'm going to add a new shape layer. So shape layer. Got my empty salad bowl again. I need to go add. This time I'm going to do a rectangle. And it's still an empty bowl because there's no stroke or fill. I'm going to do a fill of, let's change the fill color to orange. Now, I want this to be a rectangle for you to see this example. So I'm twirling down in the contents to the rectangle path right here. Size. I'm going to turn off the chain link here because I'm going to make it a rectangle. It's going to be a tall, thin rectangle. So I'm going to make this a little bit thinner right there. Now, if I were to rotate this with the center point in the middle, it's going to spin like a propeller blade. That's not what I want to show you for this. So I'm going to grab my anchor tool, and if I move it to the bottom middle, it'll rotate side to side from the bottom middle like a metronome. For this demonstration, I'm going to put it up at the top middle, and it'll swing like a pendulum. So I'm going to use my black arrow tool again, my selection tool. I'm going to close this. I don't need to see it. I'm going to go to the transform of this layer, rotation, and I'll go forward 1 second. Nope, I lied. I'm going to do 13 seconds. I'm going to just slide this visually to there. Go forward a little bit. I'm just doing this by eye. Do that down to the 0. And then add another keyframe in the opposite direction. Okay. So now it's going to swing like a pendulum. And of course, as I told you before, you could always get more professional looking animation by right-clicking your keyframes and changing the keyframe interpolation. For this, I'm just going to do easy ease, pull up my speed graph, see what the graph is doing, fit all graphs to view. Okay, so let's do this and see what we get. It's not going to play as smooth as I'd like because I'm recording at the same time, but now let's watch the change in animation. See, it's getting a little slower as it gets to the top. It's this part that's not realistic. Right here. It would come in faster right there. So this is not scientifically true. So I'm going to move this graph until I get what I want. Now it's starting to speed up towards the middle part. Like that. That's more realistic. And then I'd have to work out this next kink. It's going too slow into that. So I'm going to speed it up. So now it's going to speed up and then slow down as it gets to the top. As I said before, changing your influence handles is everything with professional animation. Seeing how the speed changes from keyframe to keyframe and doing it deliberately is what will make you more of a viable candidate in the job market when you're trying to get a job with graphics or animation or motion graphics.